going to cover one more thing and then we're going to open it up to questions. So I do encourage you to sort of think about, you've got these incredible people up here on this panel, so do write anything down if it's coming to mind, you've got any thoughts or burning questions. But just to sort of, you know, have a nice wrap up for the end of this, what I'd like to do is if you could have, what would be your top tip for thriving beyond limits? If you could just have one single one that was your absolute best takeaway.
Probably for me, being honest and being open and destigmatizing any sort of feeling that you're having, whether it's feeling low, feeling depressed. I know a lot of mental health issues run in our family, and there's different levels of honesty with people. And then I think the moment you take that away and you're all honest, you're all on the same playing field, and it's a lot easier and people can understand you better and you can get the help you need.
Yeah, absolutely agree. And I'll just add community. You know, for me, I don't have a partner. You're 1 in 5 times more likely not to get married or to get divorced if you have ADHD. Maybe it would have been useful to know when I was 20. I would have made more of an effort. You know, it is what it is. So friends, having lovely friends around. I've got amazing friends, some scattered around here. So community, I think, for me, and I think it goes back to your point about, you know, we all know how important community is, and that's the theme of this mental health week. So I think it is really key.
Yeah. Tara, what would be your, I mean, I know you have probably a million tips, so trying to boil you down into like a couple or a single.
I'm going to like build on these as well. So I think honesty is really important. I absolutely think community is like the most important thing. But I would say gratitude. Mm-hmm. So I used to do gratitude practice as like a proactive thing, you know, just to like keep myself like glass half full kind of thing. But in the last few years, when I've really struggled, I've actually, like, in my darkest moments said, okay, 10 things you're grateful for right now.
Wow.
And it changes your mindset, like, so quickly. And I sometimes forget, and it takes me a while to get there. But when I do, it's, like, so powerful the way it transforms your mind.
Yeah. So being gratitude and having that especially triggered in moments when you really need it is super important.
Yeah.
Amazing. Dr. McKenzie, what would be your number one tip for thriving beyond limits?
Again, kind of building on everything, I think then there's also the time when ask for help when you need help, because I think so often people suffer in silence. And I think there is a lot of help available now, and so, you know, ask a friend, ask your GP, ask a professional, but there is support available.
Amazing.
But can I just say, the gratitude thing, Rabi Sharawi came to our office today to do a little bit to all the team about gratitude, and actually since you left at lunchtime, everything I've done today, if I've sort of had a negative thought, I've thought, but aren't I lucky that I'm actually in a situation where I'm in a car, like I'm stuck in traffic. Like, you can twist everything around, can't you?
True.
It's so clever. Like anything bad you were saying, and thank you so much for coming. It was wonderful.
I learned from them.
Well, actually, I've got a question just to follow up on that, is that, you know, I'm wondering what that flip from stress to gratitude, Tara, you might be the best person to answer this, but, you know, do we have any sort of like neural or chemical correlates to what actually is happening to create that such an intense mood shift?
Yeah. So basically, if you're stressed, then you've got high levels of the hormone cortisol going around your blood, and it's like reducing blood flow around your brain away from your higher functions. And it's very corrosive, it's eroding your immunity and everything. But let's say in the short term, if you do gratitude, or with neuroaesthetics, if you appreciate beauty, like an amazing building or the spring blossoms or something, then it increases your levels of oxytocin. And because oxytocin and cortisol are like a seesaw, when the oxytocin goes up, the cortisol goes down. So that's why
That's how it works.
Yeah.
Amazing. Brilliant. Well, should we first of all give a round of applause to the amazing panellists? And we've got some time now to open it up to the floor for any questions. So has anyone got any questions for these? Oh, yeah,
Hi.
Natalie.
Hi. Thank you so much. Super interesting. I got diagnosed with ADHD last year, and it's great to hear, because I always thought that my divorce was his fault, and now I'm sort of starting to think maybe. No, my question is. My question's around boundaries. So I feel like one of the main sort of like TikTok, Gen Z speaks like no boundaries, it's like you're supposed to have boundaries. What if like, I've always been confused, and I'd love your opinions on this. Sometimes I'm like, when is it just rude? Like, oh, it's boundary. Like for example, my mum stresses me out, and I can't just put a boundary on never seeing her, as much as I'd like to sometimes. So like, what is, and what is that? How much of you like, oh, I'm supposed to be protecting my space, and how much are you just being like, rude at the end of the day? And have we taken that too far? And I'd just love to hear your opinions.
Yeah. Brilliant, Natalie. So, just to sort of bottom line that, it's about when are boundaries healthy, and where's the line, and when are you sort of shutting yourself off to people, and where do you navigate, sometimes being around people or doing certain things and then cutting it off and respecting the space. So who wants to lead with that answer?
Tara.
I was just thinking about, I might misquote this phrase, but it's something like, saying yes to someone else for something you don't really want to do is saying no to yourself. So I think you have to balance out whether you think it's like damaging you, helping you, or neutral in terms of what it is that you will or won't do. I mean, I don't know if you would agree with this, but I think it must be personality, but also being trained as a psychiatrist, I've got very high boundaries, and I don't actually think there's anything wrong with that. Like, a few people have DM'd me and said, when it comes to family members, you can't like not have them in your life, even if they're really awful to you and abusive. And I actually say, you can not have them in your life. So, but I think it's a bit of a spectrum, and it's different for different people. But I think making sure that no harm comes to you is the minimum. If you feel like you've been taken advantage of emotionally, physically, financially, sexually, then there has to be a hard boundary. If it's not like up there, then maybe a bit of give and take.
I also think that boundaries are not always the same, because you're not always the same. And so at times when you might be feeling more vulnerable, you might actually need to be a little bit more boundaried.
Which is hard.
Absolutely, yeah. But I think in those times to actually be gentle with yourself and to say, it is okay for me to look after myself at the moment. That's fine. And at another time when, you might be feeling stronger, it might be that you can kind of say, she annoys me, but she also needs me. And you can tolerate that. So I think boundaries are also things that kind of shift according to how we feel. So.
And Hum and Lucy, from your personal experiences, how do you guys sort of navigate boundaries, or do you have any comments on that one?
I'm not very good with boundaries. I feel like you've got I feel so guilty saying no to anything, or like having boundaries, and then I really punish myself for if anything does go wrong. Or I miss something, and I also get really bad FOMO if I do say no to something, so I end up saying yes to everything. So I would say that I'm taking from this that I need to have more boundaries. That would be my healthy tip.
I'm getting better. In fact, I'm getting rather antisocial. I'm saying no to lots. So maybe I need to change, and I think having definitely understanding yourself and being gentle on yourself. I am more gentle on myself, understanding myself better. So I do sort of try to say, look, don't beat yourself up. It is what it is. And, some people have way worse conditions. They're struggling with, life-threatening things. So be gentle. So I think that's a good one. And be strong when you want to be. Don't just be strong.
Yeah.
If you can, in terms of saying no if you need to.
Yeah. And I'll just throw in one more thing on that, which is that I really like this expression where they say, you've got to fit your own oxygen mask before you can help someone else, right? And I think that part of boundaries is that you maintain that you do have your own oxygen mask on. And if someone's by being in their environment means it's taken off, then I think that's a good barometer check. Because ideally you want to fit oxygen masks on the whole plane, but you've got to have enough supply to be able to run around. So, but brilliant, thank you, Natalie. Great question. Yes, can we go?
Hi. It was interesting to hear what you said about loving partners. I volunteer at a place called the Listening Place,
and I've seen people who are suicidal. And I have one gentleman I'm seeing who's got chronic ADHD, is like runs around like a headless chicken, never sleeps, goes to the gym, and he has a really, I think, as far as what he said to me, is a very unloving wife. And he won't take any drugs, and he hasn't been diagnosed because he's got no money, and it'd be really helpful to know if there's a book I could recommend for someone who's in a really dire straits. And I'm only listening to him, but there's a lot of stuff going on, and if I could even just recommend a book to him that might help him while he's waiting for his diagnosis.
There's an excellent book, I can't remember the title of the book, but it's something like Living with Adult ADHD, and it's by Dr. James Cousteau. It's fairly recently been published, and it's really excellent because what he goes into is kind of lifestyle changes that you can make as well to support you, and it explains a lot about, you know, what ADHD is and how it affects relationships and everything. So I think it's a very good book.
And I've got a good one, Jane. Just can't remember what it's called. It's got ADHD in the title.
Difficult. Well, very good, very good. Sorry, there was another question. Yeah.
Yes, hi, my name's Nadia. I'm an osteopath, and I found over the past 2 years in particular, I'm treating a lot more patients with ADHD. And in particular, I find I'm doing a lot. Firstly, I've noticed touch is so healing. My patients that have partners are in very different states to my patients that are single. But in particular, I'm doing a lot of vagal nerve stimulation and breath work. And I just want to know, is there many research studies, going out to the doctors here, on with any sort of link between vagal nerve stimulation or breath work and ADHD?
I know from a personal perspective that I love not having a partner. It's what I really miss. So I love massages. I haven't had one for years, not years, months. But dogs, I think I kiss and cuddle my dogs constantly, most probably 200 times a day. I don't know what I'd do without them. So I think they, in a way, they're most probably a bit dangerous, because then that's why maybe not looking very hard for but tell them to get a dog if they really love dogs, because that really helps. But it is touch and feel is really important, and we are quite tactile type people, I think. Because we are, it is huge, but I don't know if there's any research or books or anything that can help. But breathing, I think the breath work.
Breath work, I mean, it is. I find it brilliant. But I'm just like looking around for any research studies. Has research been done with how touch or breath work or vagal nerve stimulation can help with ADHD?
Yeah. So basically, touch. Also induces the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. So for people who are single or lonely, bathing instead of showering can give them that feeling of being enveloped in warmth.
That's me every night.
Yes. And then with what vagal nerve stimulation does is that, so there's a nerve that the vagus is Latin for wandering. It's the longest nerve in the body, and it kind of like comes down the two sides, and it attaches to your diaphragm. And so it's related to your breathing rate. And when you stimulate the vagus nerve, or when you do breath work, or other kind of relaxing activities, I guess, it moves the autonomic nervous system, which is part of the peripheral nervous system, from the sympathetic state, which is fright, flight, fight, to the parasympathetic state, which is rest and digest. Now, I haven't seen research on ADHD particularly, but given what we've just heard, the fact that you're moving your nervous system into a calmer state must obviously have a beneficial impact on ADHD symptoms.
Yeah.
There was an article in Time, I'm a Times reader, by a neuroscientist who's an expert in vagal nerve, and he's just published a book. Ooh. So that might be quite interesting. Yeah. I was trying to see if I could see it on my Times app, but if I can find it out.
I'll come back to you.
Because actually I was going to ask the same question, because there's quite a lot of, people saying, oh, you can stimulate your vagus nerve by various wearables, and what he says is, and it's just what I've read, is like a cold shower. Yeah. So he has, that cold and hot shower every day, and he goes to a whole bunch of hacks, but
And
he's
there
also
are
done the
so many
research.
ways, like, you know, humming and singing.
Yeah.
There are many ways, but yeah, I was just intrigued. Is there research out there? Because I'm noticing so many patients feeling so much better, and it helping them with their ADHD, and especially when, as you mentioned, making notes of when it flares up the most or where in the cycle it's flaring up. So they know that, okay, this is where I'm going to flare up, let me go in for some osteopathy, and they're noticing that it's a tool for them to help them be calm through that time. So just intrigued.
It makes a lot of common sense to me. I'm also not aware of specific studies. They might be out there, but also the cortisol effect. You know, when people with ADHD very, very often have anxiety, and their baseline cortisol levels are just a little bit higher. And so anything that is going to reduce that cortisol is going to reduce the anxiety, and the anxiety, it's kind of one of these chicken and egg things. The anxiety makes the ADHD worse, but the ADHD is what's causing the anxiety. And they just cycle like that. So whatever you can do to interrupt that is going to be helpful for people, definitely.
I've been like, is it called safekeeping? It's when you find something really good and then you keep it to yourself. Gatekeeping. I've been gatekeeping it safe. But I found something really, really amazing for finding research, which is a new company that's only launched in the last 4 months. You know what I'm about to. You're like, don't say it.
I know.
But I'm like, people should have it.
Saying it.
It's called damn it. It's called Undermined.ai. And it is an AI large language model that has access to all of the abstracts and all the empirical data. And so what you can do is you can ask a research question into it. It will give you full empirical jargon back, but once it gives you the report, you can say, please, can you translate this into layman's terms? And then it will just be in sort of easy language and you can navigate it. So that's a really good way for finding new research. Yeah.
Just in terms of today's society, with we're always on our phones, even when we have downtime. I find it personally really hard to not look at my phone. Even when you're not working or you're on holiday, and even now when people get a break and they do go on holiday, they're on their emails, and people can access them, and people have no boundaries. Speaking of boundaries, they just email you even when they're on holiday and stuff. So in terms of today's society, even if you don't have a diagnosis or a condition, it's extremely hard to find that calm. And is there anything which I think does increase things like ADHD, just personal anxiety in the world that we live in is such a crazy place. So is there anything, I guess maybe just anything you could recommend for everyday life, just to get away from?
I definitely think to have a bit of a break from a screen every day is really important. I think the first half an hour if you can make it, of your day to avoid screens as much as possible, because I think that's a time, you've just slept. It's a time when calm is actually really important. You get a bit of a cortisol spike around that time of the day anyway. So the last thing you want to do is kind of see what's in the news or what people have done. So actually having that calm is really important, and if you can have a bit of daylight exposure at that stage, it really, really helps settle you for the day. And I think then to find a practice that works for you, some of the things that I think are really, really useful is the breath work. So doing some breathing, and it can be really simple. So purely just doing a longer exhale than inhaling, doing that a few times throughout the day, just that mindfully breathing, and making sure that you do a fairly short inhale and a long exhale. Again, that's what you were talking about. It reduces the cortisol levels, but it switches your body from fight and flight to relaxation. And then something like non-sleep deep rest, or yoga nidra, to try and build that into your day on a regular basis. It's basically just a relaxation technique, but even just 10 minutes can really, really leave you very refreshed. And there's significant brain benefits to doing that on a regular basis as well. So I think finding something that is fairly easy for you to build into your day, and something that that you find works for you. It might be that you need to try a few different things.
Also, Wendy, who's just left, is a tapping, would you call it?
Practitioner.
Practitioner.
Yeah.
And I had a horrible situation a couple of years ago, and I did it on Zoom with her, and it was really good. I mean, that doesn't help with not using your phone, but it does help with calming you down a bit of anxiety, I think. I might try to look into that a bit more.
It works on the vagal nerve.
Does it?
I've never heard of tapping, so I don't know what this is.
Oh.
I'll give you this the whole time.
Yeah.
EFG or something. Does someone know?
Yeah. EFT.
EFT, emotional freedom technique. But there's an app called Rapid Tapping that's really good. That's what I use.
What's that then?
It's a tapping app, yeah.
And what does it?
It basically uses audio and video to guide you through different sorts of tapping for things like, I'm feeling a midday slump, I want some energy, or like a gratitude one, or I need to calm down. You just pick
and
the
it's
one
an app called
Rapid Tapping.
Rapid Tapping. Okay.
Tara, do you have any other ones for sort of, calming down and getting away from the grind of sort of the constant on technology pandemic?
Well, I mean, I do digital detoxes.
Do you?
Yeah.
How long do you do them for? Yeah, I'm intrigued.
I do them once a year. The first time I did it was Easter weekend. And then since then I've done 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks and 4 weeks.
Oh my God, 4 weeks, no phone?
I put an out of office notice on my email saying I'm on digital detox and I won't read your email till January 15th. And then, yeah.
So how do you work?
I don't.
You have a month off?
At Christmas, yeah.
Oh my God, that's so nice.
Nice.
One day.
When you say digital detox, is that all screens or is that just so you don't watch like TV?
Oh no, sorry, I watch TV. It's just like not computer or phone, yeah. I watch TV.
Okay, phones and emails. No
Yeah.
social media. Yeah.
No.
For a month.
Well done, you.
Well, so with my social media, because I can't really not post for a month, so it all gets pre-planned. I approve it all before I go away, and then for the week of Christmas and New Year, there's no posts. But the rest of the posts are automated, so it's not me like posting every day. But you'll see that there's no stories because I'm not.
Have you got any ones for stress reduction and getting away from the social media and technology grind? Or
Well, I'm not very good with apps, so I need to do all of this tapping and other things. But I do a lot of exercise, so I love boxing, playing tennis, nature again. I couldn't relate more to the whole bird thing because I love being in the countryside and trees and birds. So no, mine's more about kind of, I guess, keeping myself distracted and then I don't look at it. But I will admit, like Joanne, I the moment I wake up, I feel myself looking straight at my phone, and then even at night I'll write notes on my phone of things I think I still need to do, and if I can't sleep I'll keep doing it. So I definitely do need to think about that more, I think.
Okay, then I need to add something, which is
Okay.
you do not need your phone in your bedroom
Yes.
overnight. Buy an old-fashioned alarm
Yes,
clock.
we need the alarm
Okay.
I know. Someone said, I read someone on social media saying, your friend Georgie Toffo, or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
She says 8 to 8. From 8 to 9. Sorry. What's she called?
Toffolo.
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 8 to 8. So you don't take it into your bedroom past 8 o'clock, and you don't get it until 8 o'clock. I thought that was quite good.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
But then what about watching things? Am I allowed to watch, because I can't sleep, so I watch Game of Thrones or listen to
On your
podcasts. No, on a laptop, but is that the same? Do I need to not?
Your phone.
Is that still part of the digital detox? Am I not allowed a laptop?
No.
Okay, all right. No?
Read a book.
I should try and read a book. I've never been good at that either.
I can also just add like 2 tech things directly. You can on your iPhone set a timer when you're in any particular app, so whether it's emails, whether it's social media, and it will log you off, and then you have to put in a password again before you open it, and that sort of gives you the cognitive jolt to be like, do I want to be on for another 20 minutes or however long you sort of been scrolling. And the other one is there's an app called Boomerang, which is an email plugin, which Tara, actually you might like, well, but you're obviously incredibly good at not looking at your emails for the timer off, so you're boundaried, anyway, which means you can pause your inbox, so it literally actually holds emails out of your inbox for the time that you've set it, so they don't come in, so you're not having to deal with the temptation of knowing they're there and not wanting to look at it.
I guess just turn your phones off.
You could also turn your phone off. That would be the best. Boomerang, yeah. Any final questions? Yeah, just one more.
Just for a question to the panel. If you could give your younger self a piece of advice about maintaining a strong and positive state of mental health, what would you offer her?
I think that's such a good question.
I know.
Who wants to go first on that one?
I can go first on that one because I had a conversation with some colleagues when I was still a doctor, and I said, if you could give like one piece of advice from your specialty, what would it be? And the cardiologist said do exercise. The GI said, the gastrointestinal surgeon said eat fibre, and I said go on holidays.
And you need to do all of them.
Yeah, you need to do all of them. But like taking proper breaks and actually relaxing and recouping your like resilience is really important.
And so that would be your tip to your younger self.
Yeah.
More holidays. I want to be your younger self.
You want to be myself because I've been on a lot of holidays.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Go on. Who's next?
I'd probably say just to not worry and don't punish yourself. Like, everything will work out. I think life takes lots of twists and turns, and rather than preempting, oh, I don't have a boyfriend, oh, I haven't achieved this, I haven't done that, and panicking about it, I think just ride the wave of life, and in the end, you'll get hopefully what you want if you sit there and think about it enough and manifest it.
I think what I've enjoyed about finding out about my, neurodiversity, whatever it is understanding other people's as well a bit more, like not in depth, but like people with autistic people or Asperger, the one below, is realising that everyone. So when someone's rude to you on the street or rude, I now am much better at going. They may just be, have their own struggles that day, or have, not the best social skills. So I think it's just understanding that everyone that, because I guess I hung out with people that you're similar to, that actually I've quite enjoyed being a bit more sympathetic. So I think I wasn't very sympathetic about different types of people that might not be similar to me, that they are just, that's their way of going through life. They may not have a charming thing. There's a guy in our village in particular that I just think he's very, autistic. It's understanding now when he says rude things to me, because he's my neighbour. So I think just understanding people a bit more.
So that would be your tip to your younger self?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. One of them.
Yeah.
I'll think tonight.
And Dr. McKenzie, what would be yours?
I think similar to what's been said, I think that realization, kind of seeing things in perspective, that things that might matter to you a lot right now, 2 years down the line, you will have forgotten that it even happened. And I think when you're in the moment, things can feel really overwhelming. And realizing that that's the way life goes. There are stages where there's overwhelm and then things get better. And I think to know that things always get better. I think that's the thing. And with that, knowing that things will get better, it's that thing about being kind to yourself while things are tough. That actually, it will get better, and just be gentle with yourself when you're in that difficult time.
Well, and what a lovely thought to end on. So, everyone.